right, here we go, everybody. Buckle up. You're in for a special treat today. Welcome to a bonus episode of Podcast Movie, the podcast. We are actually in the studios today. I, of course, am in my own home studio right now, and I'm speaking with a friend of the podcast, gentleman with his own podcast, Mr. Cody Tucker. Welcome, sir.
Whoa, thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Been a long time coming, for sure.
Long time coming. Glad that you're here, sir. Glad that you're here. So Cody has his own podcast. It's Mindful Mayhem. You want to talk a little bit about what you got going on over there, man?
Sure. So, like I said, Mindful Mayhem is the name of the podcast. It's really just me, kicking around a couple of jokes, talking about some pop culture news, whatever's going on. Also have a more widely popular segment where I interview actresses in the adult film industry. So,
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Super popular. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, Cody and I, we were actually having a fun discussion right before the podcast started. Yeah, man, it's you got some pretty fun content that you have over there on your channel. Awesome job, man.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's fun.
So the movie that we're actually going to be talking about today is going to be Jurassic Park. And there's a reason why Cody's here with us. We've been talking. Cody's one of my guys that I talk movies with and have for a very long period of time. And it is, through the different conversations that we've had over the years, you discover, what somebody's interests are. And, Cody told me a long time ago that his favorite movie of all time, I'm correct, right? Favorite movie of all time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, is Jurassic Park. So I wanted to have Cody on here with me to kind of break down some Jurassic Park. The reason I really wanted to do this right now, on our podcast, we've actually, believe it or not, we kind of worked very backwards in the Steven Spielberg podcast arena, because what we started with was Minority Report.
Okay, so you started in 2002? Isn't that when?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when Minority Report came out. So okay.
And it's just a weird place to be able to kind of start, because it's not the most popular of the Steven Spielberg movies.
It is one of my favorites, though.
It's a great movie, and look, I love, and listeners to the podcast know that I love watching Tom Cruise run.
Oh my God, me too.
There's a thing about watching Tom Cruise run that is it's fascinating. It's like as much as I understand, and I know that Tom Cruise is a crazy person. I look, hey, everybody's got their quirks and everybody's got their weirdness and everything like that. So,
well, look, is Tom Cruise crazy, or are we crazy?
Hey, look, who knows, man?
He might be the one who's in tune.
No, okay. Dude, I'm fairly certain he's insane.
Yeah, well, check your thetans and get back to
okay. Absolutely. I'm going to do that.
Yeah. But you know what I love better than Tom Cruise running is specifically Tom Cruise running on wet asphalt.
For me, it's like the way that he runs too, because he's like, and he's good. Like he's good. Like he's a good running actor.
Yeah, he's a quick
he does it all the time in like all the fucking Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah,
I've seen him run 100,000 times in Mission Impossible
Jerry
movies.
Maguire.
Did he run in Jerry Maguire?
Yes, there's a part where he's running to catch up with the bus on wet asphalt. See?
And the way that he moves his arms whenever he runs too, it's great.
Oh yeah.
I have this fun story about my daughter growing up. She used to play soccer. I say play soccer. She would stand out on a soccer field while things happened around her, and we would do this thing where she would love, like, for her it was the bugs. Like she would find a bug and be like, "Oh, a grasshopper," and while soccer was actually being played around her, and I would say, hey, run over here, and she was like, "I'm running," and then she just moves her arms up and down real fast,
Damn
and
straight.
then walks as slow as possible.
Yeah,
So
that's the TC sprint.
it's the TC sprint. Absolutely,
yeah.
but man, I mean, he got some moves. I don't know if he's ever actually played a sport in his life. Because,
I'm gonna guess no.
Well, man, if you ever, there's a really fun scene of Tom Cruise in. Oh shit, I'm gonna blank on the name of the movie. It's the one where it's way in the future, and he has to go do like the maintenance on the different things, and
Oblivion?
then he finds. Oblivion.
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah,
Jesus
yeah.
Christ, good pull
that's
right there, man.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, I know. Yeah.
So there's a scene in Oblivion where he's at, I want to say it's Giant Stadium, and he is describing a
Yankee
football
Stadium?
game. Is it?
I thought he was hanging out at Yankee Stadium, wasn't he?
No, I think it was.
No, it is.
He's describing a football game.
That's right.
Yeah.
It is Giant Stadium.
And he is, and the way he talks about football, there's no way he's ever seen a football game.
Oh,
There's zero chance.
Yeah, he talks about like Al Pacino in Any Given Sunday.
Yes.
You're soldiers.
Yeah. So yeah, we just totally Tom Cruised it out there.
As
but
one
yeah,
does.
like so going back to Minority Report, like
Yes.
that's the very first Steven Spielberg film that we were covering.
Yeah.
And I even spoke about this on the podcast of whenever we did Minority Report, like Jesus Christ, how is it that this is the first one when I mean shit, we got Jaws, we got E.T., we have Indiana fucking Jones, man.
I mean,
and
Schindler's List. Well, it's not really like a fun movie to talk about, but it is an interesting movie to talk about.
I have more Spielberg on the shelf behind me in my Blu-ray collection than I do of pretty much any other director.
So like I don't know who your favorite director is. I think we're pretty similar on this. Mine's David Fincher. Hands down. That's my favorite.
I have so many favorites.
Yeah,
Everybody knows this. I have so many favorites. So depending upon like the different genres, Denis Villeneuve is currently like one of my favorite, working directors.
You mean Denis Villeneuve?
Yes, Denis Villeneuve, Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah, sure.
That's his name. Steven Spielberg. Sorry, I was just
Spielberg.
Spielberg. Okay. But like I'm a super fucking like Chris Nolan fanboy and shit like that. So Tarantino all the way. I mean, shit. We do a every 10th episode on our podcast is a fucking Tarantino episode. So I'm a diehard. I'll watch anything that. Oh, by the way, did you know Tarantino is in talks with like Netflix right now to do a 20 episode Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Because apparently he recorded all this fucking footage.
Yeah.
And Margot Robbie in an interview was talking about how there's a 20-hour cut that exists out there of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So could you imagine if that gets made into a fucking... Oh, my God, man.
Yeah. I'm down for sure.
Hell yeah, I'm down.
Yeah.
Hell yes,
but what
I'm
I was
down.
going to say is that, like, okay, so, like, David Fincher for me is, like, my favorite.
Sure.
And, whoever it is that's your favorite. But to me, it is not even up for debate that Steven Spielberg is the greatest director of all time.
I agree.
So, like,
I agree.
Like, Michael Jordan will always be the greatest basketball player. He may not be your favorite, because mine is Vince Carter.
Okay.
But Michael Jordan's the greatest. And it's, like, it doesn't even come close. Like,
yes.
Like, he's
like,
Wayne
I
Gretzky.
guess...
Or really, Wayne Gretzky's a better comparison, because, like, you can argue a few people to Michael Jordan, but, like, there's no one that has ever come close to Wayne Gretzky.
No.
And that's Spielberg.
I legit, I could not name a second hockey player.
Yeah, he's
everybody,
Lance Armstrong. Name
another bicyclist.
Yeah.
Yes. Cyclists, I don't think they like being called bicyclists.
Yeah, well.
So, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. You ride a goddamn bicycle. Like legitimately, it's the Lance Armstrong to cycling. It's the
exactly.
Gretzky. I mean, yes, like there are people that don't watch movies that they know who Steven Spielberg is.
Oh yeah,
because it's Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you're into movies the way that you and I are into movies, then you kind of have this film history that's kind of been built up over the years, and you understand like the. I was watching in preparation for this podcast. I'm watching a behind the scenes like making of documentary on Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And one of the things that that you get to witness is the way that Steven Spielberg handles all these pieces simultaneously. And a lot of directors nowadays, like modern directors, are very much like, I'm working on this one piece of this one thing, and then I have a whole production crew that works on all these independent little pieces of that.
Right.
And if you watch, and I'm certain that it was done a lot, like that, during Jurassic Park as well. But there's a thing that happens whenever Steven Spielberg is on set and he's directing, everything from kids to Sam Neill to, Goldblum, and just there's so much that's going on the screen simultaneously. And he is a goddamn master at being able to organize chaos in that particular manner.
Yes. And
it's one of the things that, even in the face of just impending, just nightmarish doom that he is, of the films that he is working on, shit gets done, man.
Yeah.
It gets done. And then like the finished product that you get is a, it's a Jaws. It's a Jurassic Park. And there's so many different examples of that throughout his career. So.
And then like when you go through Spielberg's like IMDb, it's like, how in the hell did one person make all of these movies?
One dude.
And then there's like so many movies you forget about. So like obviously everybody remembers Jaws, Indiana Jones, E.T., Jurassic Park, but then there's like War of the Worlds, Minority Report, The Color Purple, like all these movies.
Dude, The Color Purple.
Yeah, like who in the
That's
hell
from the same guy who did Jurassic Park. Did Color Purple.
Yeah.
Shit like that blows my mind.
Exactly.
Like legitimately blows my mind.
Yeah, and then not even including the movies he basically ghost directed, like Poltergeist.
Oh yeah, of course.
Goonies, Super 8. I mean, and then he did Ready Player One, which is an amazing movie. I mean, Spielberg's.
I'm in the middle of reading Ready Player One, I'm going to make a comparison between Ready Player One and Jurassic Park at some point during the podcast.
Okay, good, because I read Ready Player One a while back, and it's amazing.
Yeah. Oh my God, the book is so good.
Yeah.
I'm 3/4 of the way through the book right now.
Okay.
But and the kind of the thing, I guess I can talk about it right now, which is, there's a difference between the book and the film. They become two completely independent things.
Right.
Because Steven Spielberg makes a specific type of film. Whatever it is. And, whatever the rating is. I mean, obviously, he wants to be able to make films that appeal to and have the capability of showing it to the widest audience available. So that's PG-13. And if he can make a PG-13 film, then that's what he's going to do. Sometimes he very, very rarely does he stray into the R-rated territory.
Yeah, and it doesn't work a lot of the times.
It doesn't work a lot of the times.
As far as being a massive success, because Munich, I love that movie.
I love it.
I love Munich, but it didn't get nearly the recognition that you would imagine a Spielberg movie to make. I mean, because like I remember it coming out and no one cared. Like no one cared after it came out. But I rewatched it not that long ago, and I was like, God, this movie holds up so well. Especially Daniel Craig. Like,
yes,
in
I was going to say that. Yep.
Yeah, it's oh my God, it's a great movie.
And even in probably and I want to double check, make sure that I'm correct on this one right here. Okay, so his biggest success in an R-rated film
Saving Private Ryan
is Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
So, and it is, it's just if you want to talk about a wonderful film
Yeah.
that is like just emotionally gripping and telling this incredible story simultaneously while never pulling punches throughout the entire thing. He has that capability of being able to capture those things and make E.T. So, I mean, it's he likes to live on both sides of that spectrum. And what he did, like Jurassic Park, the book, which, so a little bit of history on the movie, which I'm certain that you know about this. So, obviously the book's written by Michael Crichton. Universal actually bought the movie rights to the film before the book came out.
Yes.
And then Michael Crichton helped write the screenplay for the film, and the film is completely different than the movie in a lot of respects. There's a lot of similarities that they share, but like the whole idea behind like the love interest and then the kids.
Yeah, the kids are reversed in the book,
and not only that, but I'm so glad because like we had this conversation immediately after me reading the book, which is if they didn't change the character of the little girl that was in the book, oh my god! Like at multiple point in times I was hoping the velociraptor would just eat that little kid.
Well, you can't have that much vulnerability in one character.
Correct.
So you can't make the female character also the younger one. You know what I mean? Like, like if she's the younger sister, I mean the older sister, then there's like a little bit more of like a like she can handle herself.
Yeah.
And so
like she has a little bit of control, and
so
she gets
kind of balances out Tim and Lex if Tim is younger than Lex.
Yeah. And there's also there's another aspect to the book that the film doesn't explore, which is there is an end that happens after the film ends. Well, I mean, it's not really after the film ends, but kind of where the film ends, where there's a murderous rampage that ends up happening, where they go through and they're murking all the dinosaurs on Jurassic Park. Because they understand that it's an abomination, and there's this madness and fucking chaos, and I'm glad that pieces like that didn't make it way into the film.
But what they do in the book, or what they've done in the movies, if you talk about the sequels a little bit, is that they've taken parts of the book and just put them into sequels. So like the whole beginning of the book was the beginning of Lost World.
Correct.
With the little girl, Camilla Bell, I think that's her name, or Camilla something. But like I think that's what like Jurassic World Extinction, the new one, is basically just going to be the ending of Jurassic Park the book.
Probably, my guess. Yeah. Well, look, and this is the thing, I don't want to, drive too far off into the sequels and everything like that, because, I mean, shit, we could spend hours being able to just talk about, how beautiful Chris Pratt is. But the way that they've been able to treat the sequels and just the whole, the multiple trilogies that they've created now. By the way, there's a sale going on iTunes right now. If you want to get the Jurassic Park, the 5-film quintilogy, is that what it is?
Sure.
Whatever you want to call it. So it's available for purchase right now on iTunes. I think it's like $35, and you get all the films, which it's not a bad deal. It's not a bad deal, and you get it all in 4K. So that's part of my digital collection right now as well. So, but being able to actually go through and watch all the different, after everything happens. And I like the arc that Jurassic World is actually taking right now with this whole idea of, what happens if the fucking dinosaurs were allowed to escape. I mean, do we give them free roam of the entire world?
Yeah. I hope.
What does that do for humanity?
Yeah. I mean, It would be nice to like come home from work and just see a velociraptor, lunge at you from 10 feet away.
No, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm super excited to be the top of the food chain, in the walking around in my area at least. I play a lot of Red Dead Online, where I'm walking through the woods and then I get attacked by a fucking grizzly bear, and no matter how many times it happens, it scares the shit out of me every single time that it happens. So there's no way that I would, my soft, doughy body would. Oh yeah. It's just I'm not ready to fight fucking T-Rexes on my drive into work every day. Oh, yeah. Nah, man, I'm good. Well, I'm out on that.
I already look enough like Dennis Nedry to where the last thing I need is some damn dinosaur spraying his goo right in my face.
Right in the face.
Yeah,
absolutely. So. Talking a little bit about Steven Spielberg, I did want to kind of talk a little bit about Michael Crichton. Mm-hmm. Michael Crichton, he is owed a great debt to just the things that he has been able to create from Jurassic Park. The thing that I love that I was not, up until like probably 3 or 4 years ago, I didn't even know that it was a Michael Crichton creation, which is Westworld.
Yes.
And
yes.
Going back to like the OG Yul Brynner Westworld.
Yeah.
I grew up on that shit, and it just fascinated me as a kid. Mm-hmm. And what Jonathan Nolan was able to do with this Michael Crichton creation, and then the whole adaptation that they did for the HBO Westworld series is fucking, at least the first season is incredible.
Well, that Michael Crichton directed the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, like actually, like he didn't just write it, like he actually directed. Right. It's like his only directorial job, I think. I'm pretty sure that's the only movie he's directed, but yeah, like because I rewatched it not that long ago. The original with Yul Brynner and James Brolin, and I was like really surprised that like Michael Crichton was the writer and director.
Yep. Yeah. And he's done everything from like Twister. Twister is such a fucking fantastic movie. That's a Crichton creation.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. ER. Let's see. ER. As a creation. He wrote the novel for what became the 13th Warrior with Antonio Banderas. Mm-hmm. It's called Eaters of the Dead. Just incredible. Yeah, man. There's so much shit that he has done.
Andromeda Strain.
Sphere. God damn. Yeah, and Andromeda Strain. Yeah. So, there's so much work that he has done out there as far as like creating content specifically for like, I'm a crazy fucking sci-fi nerd. Yeah. If it's good and it's sci-fi related in any way, shape, or form, even if it just has a cool looking cover on the video, there's a high probability that I'm going to watch it. Yeah. You throw a little time travel in there, I'm in every fucking time. Yeah. So I'm that guy. But yeah, man, like, you grow up watching the things that this guy has done and that this guy has worked on, and just the you take two incredibly creative minds and you put them together to create this movie about cloning dinosaurs and bringing dinosaurs back. You throw some Sam Neill and some Goldblum in there, and you just, it's an incredible film. Yeah. So give me your kind of your thoughts. I know this is your favorite movie. Give me your thoughts on some Jurassic Park. So tell me, first time that you saw it, why it's your favorite movie.
So first time, no idea the first time. So it's okay. Like, I'm a nostalgia.
It has always existed into your existence.
Just been a thing. So I was born in '93, so a little bit of a connection there. So like, it came out about 4 months before I came out. So
hey, hey.
Yeah. So but I just remember. So like, I'm a super like sucker for nostalgia. Anything that feels nostalgic is immediately like something that I connect to. And so for me, Jurassic Park was this movie that I would, like I didn't have like an exciting childhood. It was very boring. Like I lived in a pretty shit neighborhood. So like you don't go play with friends because there are no friends. There's just like crazy people around. So you just come home and stay in your room. And summers, you stay in your room for 3 months and that's it. So like I would wear out this VHS tape of Jurassic Park because it was like, no matter what, this movie is going to make me happy. And it still does that now. Like, yeah, okay, so I've seen it over 400 times.
Okay.
That I've counted.
So that you've counted.
That I've counted.
Okay. Okay.
And like, so I wasn't even going to watch it to prepare for this because I was like, why the hell? But I still did anyways.
Yeah.
Like I watched it like earlier today because I was like, why wouldn't I? And
of course.
And I get the same feeling now as I did whenever I was like 6 years old watching it. It's like this idea of like anything's possible. These dinosaurs, like, and every kid is fascinated by dinosaurs, which they touch on in the book, is that, kids who can barely even write their name will know the name of like a 14-letter dinosaur.
Yeah.
And
it's awesome.
Exactly. And that is how I was like I was obsessed with dinosaurs. So like seeing Jurassic Park and then like, yeah, just everything about it was just nostalgia. And it like, I don't know, it makes you feel like a kid when you watch it. Like,
absolutely.
Like I know you can like, nitpick this movie to hell, but like I do that.
I don't though.
Well, see, I do that with any other movie.
Yeah,
but this movie,
with a lot of movies.
Exactly, but this movie, I ignore everything, and it's the only movie that like my logical brain just shuts down and says, "Let's just like enjoy this."
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I everybody knows that I watch a shit ton of movies. But this is one of those, so you were born in 93. Yeah. I know what I was doing in 93. I went and saw this in the theaters. God. And, growing up, I was that same kid. I was a fucking crazy dinosaur nerd. And I loved, I was the kid that memorized all the dinosaur names. Yeah. And, whenever we'd go to them, I would love going to the museum and shit and being able to see these things as a kid. So every field trip that we ever went on and we'd go look at dinosaurs, I mean, I'm endlessly fascinated. Hell, I went on vacation. We were in the middle of somewhere in Utah and they had a dinosaur museum there. And we spent like 3.5 hours just wandering around this small little dinosaur museum in Utah.
Yeah.
And like it's a fascination growing up, and it's an endless fascination now, to the point where, I would love to see if something like a Jurassic Park could actually be done. Also in the research of for this podcast, you come up with these fun little tidbits. Like in 2005, there was a scientist that actually found like red blood cells inside of a T-Rex bone.
Yeah.
And so this idea of being able to extract DNA, live DNA from a from red blood cells. I mean, could you imagine fucking cloning a T-Rex?
Yeah.
Like how much would that fuck with our perception of what these dinosaurs actually were, or it's hard to even begin to imagine something like that happening. And everything that I grew up with, all the TV shows that I grew up with were all every time they would depict dinosaurs, it was always like claymation shit, or it was very poorly done CGI. And whenever you have somebody that is as visionary as Steven Spielberg work with somebody like Michael Crichton, and then you bring on the Stan Winston effects team into this film, and the level of creativity whenever you have everybody working together to try to render what if that 2005 scientist that extracted red blood cells was able to actually clone a fucking dinosaur, like what that would actually look like.
Yeah.
And every time, man. I mean, like, you've seen it 400 times. You've seen the film more than I have, probably by about 3 or 4 times. But every time that I watch it, I mean, there's the moment when they are pulling into the field on Jurassic Park, and Hammond is talking about the different stuff, and you hear the thump thump thump, and you go to this wide open field, and it's when Dr. Grant, Sam Neill, whenever he takes off his sunglasses, and you have that big reveal, and then you have that fucking John Williams score that comes on, and it's just like, it gives me goosebumps every single time that I watch it. And
then it's Jeff Goldblum too, like Jeff Goldblum saying like, you did it, you crazy son of a bitch, you did it, like it's
absolutely.
God, I know, I get like goosebumps now just thinking about
it. It works so incredibly well. And the use of the technology that existed at the time, working together with a digital effects team that were given this task of impossibility of creating lifelike dinosaurs on screen that didn't exist, and having them be able to be incorporated with these huge puppets and models and everything like that were hydraulically controlled, and having everything work together flawlessly to the point where watching it today, because I just when you've watched it in 4K on the living room television with the surround sound, it could have been made this year.
Yes, it's actually better.
Everything holds up
this year.
Yeah, I know, because it's the practical with the digital effects.
But even if you just take the CGI, so like you take the CGI of the first like T-Rex scene, so not the animatronics, but like the actual CGI.
Sure.
And when you put that up against like Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom and look at the T-Rex then, it's not as good in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
It feels like there's no weight to it in Fallen Kingdom.
Exactly.
And this is the thing that me and my friends, we talk about this, is whenever it comes to like video games. So, whenever there is 50 man hours that is put in to creating a 6-second sequence, you get something out of that one dude in a digital studio just being able to drop everything in here and throw it on a wireframe and then give it some reality physics and let it go, drive it around and control it out into that particular world. There doesn't feel like there's weight to it, as opposed to like I said, just 50 fucking hours put into 6 seconds, which is what they did in making Jurassic Park. I mean, and it's that continuous, like a lot of the digital effects, they invented this shit.
Yes.
This is, they didn't have the technology. And I love it when a director, like, I'm a huge James Cameron fucking nerd as well. And love it or hate it, whenever you're talking about like Avatar, the balls to be like, fuck it, we're going to create this on the fly, and we're going to have to create the technology that allows us this vision that I have to be able to come to life. And Steven Spielberg, he's that director that allows his incredibly creative team to be able to work together to get the impossible done. And you can feel it, man. You can 100% feel it.
So can I ask you, as somebody who was actually around when this movie came out, what was the best CGI you had seen in a movie until Jurassic Park? You know what I mean? Was it T2? Or
probably.
Or something like
let me see.
Because T2 is like the only one I can think of that actually had like legit CGI and not like
You know
what I mean? Like there was some like, well, I guess there was CGI in other movies before that too, but I mean T2 is the only one I can really think of, which came out like 2 years
prior. So
right?
it came out came out in 91. Terminator 2 came out in 91.
So,
And yeah, it was another one of those films that was just like, the T-1000.
right.
This whole fucking liquid metal, running through everything. Like, I mean, it's shit like that had never ever been done before. And again, it's James Cameron.
Right.
So, going in and creating shit that needed to be created in order to be able to get the job done. But yeah, but like, there's a difference between having a CGI on like a metal figure that you're kind of, imagining what that would look like. But, you grow up as a kid, you know what the fuck a dinosaur looks like. You know how big a dinosaur is. You know exactly what a T-Rex looks like. You know exactly like, and I guess, we take, it for granted now, this idea of, having something like a fully, formed CGI T-Rex. We're so used to the CGI that exists now. It's very commonplace.
Yeah.
And it's in everything from, the TV shows that we watch to the video games that we play to the commercials that happen. There's CGI in every single aspect to it. I mean, there's more visual effects that you can do with the fucking cell phone that you have in your pocket than what was able to be accomplished, in 91, 92, working on something like Jurassic Park. And but there's if you had to imagine like a cyborg, you're like, okay, cool, I've got that. There isn't something that is a 100% direct comparison of it already implanted into your brain. But whenever you see the fucking dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, that shit's real, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels real. There's weight to it. There's gravity to it. And the way and because it was so new, the way that everybody is able to react to it in the film, and I know a lot of that is just the direction that's given by Steven Spielberg, because directors working with actors, they weren't used to working with things that didn't actually exist right there in the frame. And this whole idea of, we're going to create this thing afterwards. You're reacting to a thing that's actually there, and everybody's like, okay, let's see how this shit works out. And then it becomes what it actually became.
Well,
and I'll tell you right now, like, being alive whenever this happened, like, there's a before Jurassic Park and there's an after Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And those lowball standards of just bullshit of, throwing fake dinosaurs into something, that you just can't do that anymore after Jurassic Park.
Right.
Like, there's a standard that has been set, and there's no walking that standard back anymore. And, it created such an integral part of the film industry, which, as it exists today, this ability to be able to use live action and computer generated imagery simultaneously, and then make it look as realistic as dinosaurally possible.
Yeah, I mean, it is like it is indistinguishable in your brain, like from like the moment you see the dinosaur, especially the T-Rex. The T-Rex is the one that they really like nailed it with. I mean, all of them do look good, but like
Brachiosaur, fucking
everything,
with its head poking above everything, and he's just sitting there just chomping on shit. And it's just incredible.
It's also the practical effects that are used and how they're cut so like seamlessly to where there are times where you're like, wait, hold on, is that the CGI one or is that the practical one? Like, there's sometimes where it's obvious, but then it's a thing that like I hate about movies now, and it's maybe like a hipsterish thing to say, but like they don't use practical effects anymore. And I understand it because it's, it takes so much time and money. When you watch the Triceratops scene, when Sam Neill laying on that Triceratops could not be done with CGI. There is something about when a human hand touches something that's CGI that you can see that it's not touching something, not really touching the thing that it's supposed to be touching. I would say
yes, but then like the Planet of the Apes series, there are some moments that are in that those guys, I mean, the shit that they're doing over there, the whole Weta workshop, man, that's
true.
That's like fucking next gen shit over there.
That
man.
is true. Yeah.
They're doing some incredible stuff.
Yeah. No.
But I know exactly what you're talking about. Apart from that, yeah, man, the use of practical is, it creates that, that interaction. It creates that, like, this is really there. And like you were talking about, with that T-Rex, everybody needs to go watch the documentary. There's a making of documentary, a whole behind the scenes of, the creation of the T-Rex and how they went through and did all that, and how many times that thing fucking broke on the set. Yeah. And it was covered in, so it's just it's this giant hydraulic puppet that's covered in latex, and it worked great whenever it was dry. Yeah,
and then when it got wet,
then it would fuck up because everything was off balance, and so it absorbed so much water weight that whenever it tried to move and stuff like that, whenever it was raining, it's things like that are kind of hilarious. Yeah. Because the whole idea is, they brought this thing out there and they're like, oh yeah, it's perfect. As long as you don't get it wet. Yeah. And then they're like, did you read the fucking script?
Yeah, this whole scene.
This whole thing takes place
in a rainforest.
It's raining the entire time.
Yeah.
So, throw some fucking some spray on anti-rain shit.
Well, it's like Jaws. 100%. Like they're like,
I know.
Well, it's it might sink.
Bruce the shark.
It might sink, and Spielberg's like, "Well, it's a shark. Like it's kind of got to be in the water." And they're like, "Oh yeah, well, it weighs a lot." And they're like, "Okay," and then sure enough, day one sinks. It's like,
sinks. Yeah.
It's like and I mean, it does feel like when you watch Jurassic Park, it's like his '90s version of Jaws. Because that's what it feels like. They're horror movies. And I know that like Jurassic Park is never considered a horror movie, but it is. How it's a horror movie.
Dinosaurs hunting people down, trying to eat them. And it's successful multiple times.
Yeah, it's successful more times than it's not.
Yes. Yeah. The fact that anybody makes it off the island in the end, you're like, oh fuck, some people actually live.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I mean, I will always consider it a horror movie. I mean, sci-fi for sure too, but like, I mean, if Frankenstein is a horror movie, how is this not just Frankenstein, like a prehistoric Frankenstein?
Well, yeah, it's like if there were multiple Frankensteins and they were fast and
30 feet tall.
Yeah. Look, the T-Rex, there's so much that goes into like the talking about the T-Rex because of like the creation of it and the size of it and everything like that. In my opinion, I mean, look, you have two different levels of advertisement for this film. You have the one that's surrounding the T-Rex, and then you have this entirely different thing that is the Velociraptors. The Velociraptors are, it's one of those that everybody kind of knows, like all the kids kind of know what a Velociraptor is. Let me tell you something. So I have a 7-year-old niece, and all through growing up, she was 3. And you ask her what her favorite dinosaur, what's your favorite animal? She's like, Velociraptor. She knows what the fuck a Velociraptor is. And it is the legacy that has been left from Jurassic Park so that we all know what a Velociraptor is. And we all know how dangerous a Velociraptor could be. And, it's terrifying. This whole idea behind these hunters that are super, super smart. They have like this crazy weird movement, this weird chickeny kind of like a chicken with no feathers movement, this articulation of the head back and forth, the weird sound, the barking sound that they make. There's so much that goes into I mean the Velociraptors and their use of, it was puppetry for the Velociraptor. It was guys in suits that they used for the Velociraptor. And it was a little bit of CGI that was used in there as well. So they're still using a lot of the practical effects. And man, there's so much that goes into that. And I'm telling you, as a young man, who saw this film in '93, you know, you have a newfound appreciation for something that's as scary. I mean, in my opinion, as scary, if not more scary than the T-Rex, because the T-Rex, you can hear that thing coming.
Well,
you know it's coming.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can run. I mean, you can get away from a T-Rex.
The Velociraptors are smart, and that is what's more terrifying. You know what I mean? Like an animal that has like the intelligence to know how to like hunt you down. And
when he's trying to open the door and shit.
Like, it goes back to Spielberg. Spielberg is the master of like suspense, even over Hitchcock.
Yes.
Like, or maybe right there with Hitchcock. Like that scene in the was it the kitchen? Yeah, that scene in the kitchen is one of the most suspenseful movie scenes ever. Like next to like Silence of the Lambs, like the ending. You know, like it is. Spielberg does this in almost every movie where, you know, everything is so tense, and then suddenly someone makes a mistake, and it's like, oh shit, they're gonna get caught. And it's whenever that spoon falls, and you're just like, oh no, you idiot. And then his little like trickery where like she's trying to pull down on the lid or the drawer, and it turns out that it was like the reflection.
Is a reflection.
Oh my god! Like all of those little things are just such subtle little like, oh my god! Like it gets your palms start sweating.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
It's such a like I love suspense in general, but like, because that brings you into a movie. Being afraid or like, you know, being like on the edge of your seat will put you into a movie more than any other emotion, more than laughing, crying. Like being afraid is the strongest emotion there is.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And exactly. So like when you watch Jurassic Park, like those moments, you're just like, oh my god, like it's all of those scenes that have that. I mean, the movie starts with one of the most terrifying scenes in like an opening of a movie, like with the
where
worker.
They're trying to cage, and it's all about the fucking
Velociraptor. Exactly.
Trying to transfer him from one cage to another cage to the big area, and whoever was the engineer that designed this thing so that it could just slide back like that.
I know.
And then, I mean, that guy, first, he should be fired.
Yeah.
Okay. There should probably be a fine that's in there somewhere. Yeah. You know, it led to one of the main security guys, because, you know, he was the one that they were like, you know, he's like the in charge guy up there doing all of that, while what's his name, Guerrero, is in the back, and he's like, hey, go get fucked up by the Velociraptor real quick. And
it's
100% does.
Muldoon is the one who's
is it Muldoon?
Like,
yeah, okay,
yes,
that's right.
Shoot her. And like,
yes, Muldoon.
And it's like, it's just the filming too that like Spielberg does, where there's always a lot of people in uniform. And there's always like this weird like mist with like a lot of bright LED like floodlights, and he does it in E.T. like he does it in all these movies like Super 8. I mean, if you want to count that as a Spielberg movie, but like there's
or you go back to its originator was in Close Encounters.
Exactly. Yes.
So I mean that's where that shit comes from.
And it like, and then just the fact that it's subtle reveals. So like you never really see the Velociraptor in the beginning, in that beginning scene. You see its eyes, and you're just like, oh shit, this is gonna get bad, and it does. And then it's like him getting lifted up, and then, you know, like as he's, oh my god, like every part of that. And just, you know how like, because Spielberg obviously was a massive Hitchcock fan, and you can see it in these movies, like when you watch Jurassic Park. And you see the scene where, so, you know, in Psycho, that was like Hitchcock's thing, was that like, we're not going to show the knife going into her. We're just going to like make the sounds and, you know, make the motions, and you're never going to really see it. And one of the most perfect Velociraptor scenes doesn't even show a Velociraptor. It's the scene where they're dropping the cow in, and you just, your imagination fills in the blanks of what is happening to this damn cow, until the machine gets brought up and you see it's just destroyed. And it's that part where you're seeing like the leaves rustle and stuff, or and then you see like their reactions to it, like Jeff Goldblum and Sam Neill, like you're seeing their reaction. Like the way Spielberg does that in really all of his movies, but especially Jurassic Park, it's like, oh my God, he is the modern Hitchcock.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, and look, you can see that throughout the entirety of his career. I mean, he is. It's something that, like I said, there's certain directors that are out there that I like because they fit into a specific like genre. Like I'm a huge Wes Anderson. I love Wes Anderson movies. I know you're. Yeah, I know. See, but Wes Anderson, like it's a style of movie that he
like
makes.
Spike Jonze kind
and
of.
like exactly, absolutely. Yeah. So there's a style of movie that is being made there. The thing that I like about Steven Spielberg is I shouldn't say every one of his movies is different, but the gamut at which he plays inside of. I mean, it's so varied.
It's
so
like Ridley
varied.
Scott kind of. Like
yes,
Ridley Scott
absolutely.
is the same way because he'll have like Blade Runner, Gladiator, and Thelma and Louise. Where you're
Correct.
just like, oh, okay, this dude can do everything. And Spielberg
he can do
is
everything.
the same
yeah.
way. Like Spielberg, they're like, what genre could he not make? Like,
I know.
As far as I know, he's never made a comedy, like a straight comedy. But I would guarantee you that he would be able to do it. He's made movies that had comedic
No, he did.
elements.
He made a comedy. Yeah, he did make a
1944?
No, Amistad.
Oh my God. Schindler's List.
Schindler's List. It's a comedy.
Well, 1944, I think, is
Munich,
a comedy, isn't it? The one with
do
1944,
what now?
The one with Belushi and Dan Aykroyd. Isn't that a comedy? The one that tanked in the box office. It was like one of his first movies. I think it came out in 1941 is what it is. Yeah.
But
I think that was a comedy.
It is listed as
horror because it was so bad, but
no, but
but no, I think it was a comedy.
I guess it is. It's supposed to be a comedy.
I think so.
Belushi, Aykroyd.
Yeah,
that's 1979. That's like one of his very first.
Yeah, because it was right after.
Although that was after. I mean, so that's after Jaws.
Yeah.
That's after Close Encounters. And look, man, you want to talk about a movie that just stands the test of time? Go watch Close Encounters.
God, yeah.
Like it's a fucking. And you want to see like Richard Dreyfuss, like him in Jaws, and then him in Close Encounters. I love being able to see Dreyfuss, like the different characters that he plays, and man, he's so fucking good.
Have you seen Always? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I fucking movie. Love Always, man.
Another Spielberg movie that like everybody forgets about, Empire of the Sun.
Empire of the Sun,
Sun's
absolutely
an amazing movie, which I just like rewatched not that long ago, and you see like a young Christian Bale, like, I mean,
yep,
he is the greatest. There's no one that even comes close. Like, and then War of the Worlds, like all these movies are just like they're perfect.
Yeah, man. Like he has a very storied career in Hollywood, and the like I said, the different films that he's been able to create. Jurassic Park. I mean, it's kind of the. If somebody else made this, this would be their masterpiece.
Oh yeah.
And this just happens to be one of the, it's in the top 5 Steven Spielberg movies that have ever been made.
It wasn't even his masterpiece of that year.
Yeah.
Because Schindler's List came out in 93.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Like, he made the movie that swept the Oscars and the movie that broke the box office record until Titanic in the exact same year.
Correct.
Like there's no director that will ever be able to compete with something like that.
No, and not only that, man, but like the franchise that came off of Jurassic Park is just incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah, I mean...
So to talk a little bit about the movie, if like, we talk about the different scenes that are throughout it, what is your favorite scene in the film?
Ooh, Jesus Christ, that's a tough one. I'd be able to choose between my parents easier than I could choose this one.
Okay. Okay.
I would say my favorite scene is probably the Jeep, when they're in the Jeep and it's starting to rain and which is ironic. There's not even really dinosaurs in this part, but it's like the scene where Sam Neill and Jeff Goldblum are like, should we go check on them? Like maybe they're scared, and he's like, I'm not scared. And he's like, I didn't say you were scared. Like it's this little like conversations that they're having while in the meantime Lex, Tim, and Gennaro are in the other one, and it's just the little conversations. There's so much like character building in those scenes where you learn everything you need to know about any of those characters. But then if you want to tie that into the T-Rex scene, then yeah, like the whole ripple in the glass, like that, all of
that's the thing. That's the scene for me that does it every single time. It's the thing from the trailer. It's the thing from it's whenever you leave the theater, that's the thing that everybody was talking about. It's that sequence right there. That the introduction of the T-Rex in its entirety.
If I have to give a runner up, it's the incubation scene where because there's such a shift because so like obviously you're supposed to feel like this romantic like awestruck feeling whenever they're looking at him, they're seeing this dinosaur being like born, and they're just like, oh my god, this is amazing, and the music's really like happy. But then as Sam Neill is like holding it, he's like, what species is this? And it turns, and then it like reminds you that, hold on a second, like this is like serious. This isn't just like a little, like petting zoo with, big cows. Like he's like, you bred raptors? Like that's whenever
he's holding a monster in his
and that's
hand.
when it kicks in, well, to him and to us, is that this is not good. Like this is horrible.
Well, that and Malcolm the whole time.
Oh yeah,
is like, he's like, and even in the book, like I love his character in the book, which is what's there's a different shift if you go read the book. Malcolm doesn't survive. And same thing with Hammond. Hammond gets et in the book, and Malcolm, he gets et. He's the him getting picked up and thrown around by the fucking T-Rex in the book is pretty spectacular. I wish there's a part of me that kind of wishes that would have taken place in the film, but at the same point in time, I'm glad that it ended up being Gennaro who gets et by the T-Rex while he's sitting in there on the toilet. I love that whole sequence, how it plays out. But Malcolm, his whole thing is like, this is going to turn out bad. Like the entire way through, he's like, you guys are, everybody's excited about this. I don't understand why you're excited about this. You know this is going to go wrong, and whatever, call him the pessimist or whatever. The chaos theory guy. But he is. I mean, he's right.
He's him and Sam Neill. Well, really, it's him, Sam Neill, and Laura Dern are the ones who are right. All the rest of the people in this movie are idiots. And it's basically telling you that, like, trust scientists. They know what they're doing. Yeah. And, like, and you, obviously there are three different scientists for, like, three different fields. Well, one's a mathematician. But, like, it's just, like, trust those people. Like.
Yeah, but the thing that you don't really get from the movie that you get from the book is the way that Hammond put this shit together. It's kind of like, it's a bunch of really, really smart people, but it's kind of like the lowest bidder smart people that he's got together to be able to work on this. And, the B.D. Wong, who plays Wu in the film, his whole character in the book is, like, he's not the smartest guy in his field, and he tells everybody that. But he's somebody that was kind of on the outs of the community, and then just basically Hammond comes in and just buys him up, and he's like, hey, this is the thing that we're going to be working on. And then they go through and they end up creating and fucking around with genetics to create this dinosaur. And this whole introduction of amphibian DNA into the to fill in the genome, because what is it, 95% of all of the genetic structure is the same. So a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and so, and in the the book, what you get is, I mean, this is like they're beta testing shit. So they have versions, so like software of versions of the dinosaurs. Right. T-Rex version 4.3 didn't work because his lungs were born on the outside. So and they just keep going, and they just keep going until they, whatever their version of the, the ideal creation of the dinosaur that looks like a dinosaur, but is so far genetically away from probably what it was originally. How did they expect? How did Hammond, and because Hammond's this fucking smart guy. Yeah. How did Hammond or even Wu think that this shit's a good idea? Like,
well, it's because
really?
You get blinders. Like, it's and Malcolm brings up the point, was like, you were too busy worrying about whether or not you could that you didn't stop to think whether or not you should. And it's like, they were so focused on like, could we actually do this, that they ignored the fact of like, well, maybe we shouldn't do this. Like, or like, that's the question, is like, is this ethical for us to be doing?
Right.
And like, what could go wrong? It was more that like, are we at a point in technology that we can make this happen? And if so, let's get it done. But they do kind of hint to the fact that it's like the lowest bidder in more subtle ways in the movie, by the fact that like Nedry is like the one IT guy. And if he's gone,
the one IT guy,
then the park is screwed. Because all it took is for his fat ass to get eaten by a Dilophosaurus, and the whole park is screwed for the rest of the movie, pretty much. Like, like they kind of hint to it that it's like, oh, like they're not putting in like a lot of man hours,
and they're also
resources.
Like they're a year away from opening anyway. They're kind of just getting the feelers out there. But like, legitimately, if Nedry, if Wayne Knight's character can go through and completely destroy billions of dollars worth of IT and
embryos,
security, and just the billions of dollars that had to have been put into this, and get a whole group of people eaten. I mean, like, legitimately, you probably should have had some backups. Maybe some like APC power supplies sitting out there on the fucking electric fences. I mean, look, I'm no scientist, but it seems to me that would probably be a good idea.
So this is a question. So like, I've never Googled this on purpose, just because I kind of don't want to know, but I sort of do. What is Samuel L. Jackson's job?
So Samuel L. Jackson. Well, I know like from the book what his job is.
But in the movie,
he's like
because
he points at stuff.
And
I know he points at stuff, and he smokes cigarettes the whole time.
He has lung cancer by the end of the movie, for sure. Because he's smoking them right to the filter every time.
Yeah, every time. I'm surprised that it didn't actually show him, throw another cigarette in his mouth and then light it off of the butt of the other cigarette. Yeah, just crazy fucking chain smoking.
And that is like, he has great moments like in that movie.
Oh,
like,
he does.
And it's subtle Sam Jackson, other than like a few parts, but like, I like subtle Sam Jackson where he's not.
Although I would love to have heard these motherfucking dinosaurs in this motherfucking park. I would love to have heard that at some point. I mean, it definitely deserves a spot up there in the Samuel Jackson great moments. But yeah, man, like early Samuel Jackson in there. Wayne Knight, I think this was probably at the height of his Seinfeld run. And man, like Sam Neill, before everybody kind of had an understanding of who Sam Neill was. Oddly enough, this is not my favorite Sam Neill performance.
Oh, is it Damien, the Omen?
No.
Event Horizon. Yeah,
it's Event Horizon. Goddamn right it is.
Yeah.
Goddamn right.
He's
man.
See, okay, there's certain actors who I don't want to see in anything else. So you know that it was originally Harrison Ford. So that's
I know. Blows my fucking mind.
But would have been amazing, I think.
Oh, yeah, would have been amazing. But
he is a great choice.
He was like...
But he was doing like The Fugitive and like, some other stuff. So
yeah. He just didn't feel like that was going to be like the right role for him. Yeah.
But
he would have nailed that shit.
I know. Oh, it would have been amazing. But part of me is glad because Spielberg does this with a lot of movies, like where he takes actors who are relatively unknown and just gives them the starring role of the movie. Yeah. Jaws, nobody really knew who Richard Dreyfuss was other than like American Graffiti. No. And
Correct.
Roy Scheider had been in like a few things, but
yeah, I love Roy Scheider.
Oh, I do too.
God damn.
But you look at like all these movies and there's like not usually a lot of big names. Like there's not a lot of big name actors in this movie as far as like for a movie that made what $500 and something million, I think.
I didn't even pull up
numbers.
The numbers for it.
I'm pretty sure it was something like that. I don't know what it is like with inflation, but I think it was like 500 million or something crazy like that. Like that might be worldwide.
No. Yeah. So, oh my God, they spent $63 million making this movie, and box office is 1.033 billion with a B worldwide.
Is it really? Oh
yeah.
My God.
That blows my mind.
That
just blows my mind.
But so
you want to talk about a worthwhile investment?
Oh yeah.
I wonder how many fucking points that Spielberg has on this film.
God.
Oh my God! Could you imagine? Oh
yeah.
Man.
Well, then you look at it and it's like, the biggest name actor is not even famous for being an actor. It's Richard Attenborough. Was probably like the most famous person in the movie because Jeff Goldblum was like moderately famous from The Fly, but he hadn't really done a whole lot. Laura Dern,
and he was just a weird actor,
a weird guy. And Laura Dern hadn't really done much. She was just famous for being Bruce Dern's daughter. So there's not a lot of like big name people in it, and it's Spielberg takes like crazy risks with acting that I think is like it makes the movies.
That's
better.
how you get your fucking budget to be $63 million while you're also creating technology and all kinds of nonsense on top of that.
And it helps you get into the movie more. Because otherwise it'd be like, oh, look, Harrison Ford's running away from dinosaurs.
Yeah. Although, man, I would love to have seen young Harrison Ford, fucking Indiana Jones Harrison Ford.
A little older than that.
They would have been right around.
Came out in '89. It was Fugitive.
So just shortly after Crusade,
Harrison Ford, so that came out the same year. So,
oh man, I love Fugitive
I do too.
Fugitive.
I do too. I'm a huge fan of that movie. But so it would have been that era Harrison Ford, like with the beard, like the beard from the beginning of Fugitive. Because in the book, I think Grant has a beard. Like they describe him because he's basically Jack Horner, who's like one of the leading dinosaur paleontologists. And
it's so in the book, Ellie is one of his students, and this whole romantic pairing of the two in the film was only done for the film. So, and that's another Spielbergian thing. It's just put a little tweak here, a little tweak there, throw a PG-13 dust on there, boom, you got the fucking magic. He does it
the right way because he does change. Because even like Ready Player One, there are things that are changed, but they're changed.
Ready Player One is so fucking different.
They're changed
than
in
from
the
book
right
to
way.
the movie.
Like it's.
Oh no, I love it.
You know what I mean? I've never watched a Spielberg movie that was adapted from a book and thought, damn, they really should have kept it like the book. I'm like, oh, I'm glad.
No, I know. Even Minority Report
Minority
was incredibly well done. Yeah. And even when you're fucking around with Philip K. Dick content and being able to adapt Philip K. Dick content into the movie that it became. Yeah, man, I love it. And even I don't think this movie actually won any. Because it was the Schindler's List that kind of swept everything that year. But it did end up winning. I think it won some like
I'm
visual
sure it
effects
won, like,
stuff
effects
at
and
the
sound editing and sound mixing, all that kind of stuff that no one ever pays attention to.
best sound, best visual effects, and best sound effects.
Yeah.
So those are the
It should have
three
won
things that
best
actually
score.
won an Oscar
It's
for.
the greatest movie score of all time.
Oh my God! Look, you want to talk about, and look, man, we could talk John Williams all fucking day long, but whenever you hear the score start, like that introduction to Jurassic Park,
Yeah.
I mean, it is such a recognizable piece of musical accompaniment. I mean, it is
two.
like
There's the slower one, which is like played at the end. The
right.
Exactly. But
Like,
then there's the
everybody
the
knows
more
what the fuck
upbeat
that
one, the
is.
Yep. Like that, like more Indiana Jones style, like, and it's just like, God, John Williams is such a genius, and like that John Williams Spielberg collaboration is amazing. It's like Fincher Reznor, but like the box office like version of that, like the theme park version of like Fincher Reznor. And
I love the pairing of Fincher Reznor, by the way.
And they fit so perfect.
I mean, I just love
Well,
Reznor.
Yeah, I'm a massive Nine Inch Nails and just anything Trent Reznor does. But like those composers fit, like Paul Thomas Anderson and Johnny Greenwood. You know,
yes, absolutely.
Like they all fit each other so perfectly, and like John Williams makes cinematic scores, and Spielberg makes cinematic cinema. Like it's movies that are meant to be seen at a movie theater, and John Williams' music is meant to be heard at that movie theater. You know,
John Williams probably has written the most recognizable music.
Oh yeah.
Like worldwide above any other artist, but he is one of those composers that unless you're into films, you probably don't know who he is.
Yeah.
And I bet there's a lot of people that don't know that the same guy who created the Superman music also created the Star Wars music, also created
Jaws.
The Jurassic Park music. I mean, it's endless.
And Harry Potter. I mean, it's everything.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, I mean, he is the greatest.
If there's a thing that chances are that he worked on it.
E.T. and Indiana Jones, like all those are such like. Home Alone, he did that one too, I believe. Like I mean, and there's just something about like, it's like, okay, so the movie obviously gives me that nostalgic feel and gives me that like childhood like warmth. Like it's like your grandmother's like food, you know? Like every time you eat it, you feel like, oh, I feel like I'm 6 years old again. But whenever I hear the score, I get the same feeling. Like sometimes I'll just listen to it, like just driving around. And I'm like, fuck, like I feel like I'm a 6-year-old again. Like just by listening to 30 seconds of the score. Yeah. And it's like, that's
takes you back there every single
that's
time.
How you know that like this is like a perfect movie. Like, is it perfect in like the logical sense, or were there actors who weren't great? Because I mean, Lex is not a good act. I always forget her name that plays her, but damn,
hold
it's
on 1 second, I'll tell you.
Shit, Andrea something. Andrea.
It is Ariana Richards.
That's her name. Yeah, so she's not good. The kid that plays Tim, who was like the bass player in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, Joseph Mazzello.
Not great, but like, it doesn't matter. Like, I ignore everything bad about it. Like,
of course.
And I don't care. I don't care that it makes no sense that the T-Rex
Jeff
made
Goldblum
it across the fence. Whenever they look down, and there's suddenly a 40-foot drop off. I don't care. I don't care.
Don't care.
I don't care. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, there's some logic faults that are in there, and there's probably some editing shit that's bad in the film. But at the same point in time, man, it becomes one of those perfect classics. That, I mean, what is it? It's coming up on
27 years. Well, it's 28 this year. 28 years this year.
That doesn't make any sense. where's
And it's
the
just
time gone? Where is the time gone?
It makes no sense that this movie looks so much better than everything else that's ever been made. And I'll say even over Avatar, I think the CGI is better in this movie. Like I think
I agree.
Just the CGI alone,
it feels more grounded and real.
Like it's just it's better. Like I've never seen a movie where I was like, oh, this CGI is better than Jurassic Park, and it's the first one, like relatively the first one.
It's the first one to be able to use the level of sophisticated computer graphics that I can recall, and again, it just works so flawlessly.
Yeah.
Flawlessly with the entire rest.
Do you
of the
have
film.
a movie that's like your version of this? To me, like how like I've seen this 400 times. It's like my childhood like nostalgic movie.
So there's a couple of films that, and it's really not like childhood nostalgic for me. I mean, look, there's like I grew up like watching Indiana Jones and E.T. and shit like that, and I've seen both of those like so many times. But same thing with like Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen the original trilogy uncountable number of times that I've actually seen them. For me though, like there's movies that like I can just put on and be doing other things and still be watching the movie simultaneously. There's like there was a moment in my life whenever I was in my early 20s where Fight Club was playing in a DVD player of mine, and it was on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on loop. And in the days before pre-internet and or pre-internet as it is known today, and before shit, I didn't have cable TV or anything like that, so the collection of DVDs that I had, and like legitimately I could watch Fight Club 100,000 times, and it just became one of those things where I've probably seen that movie, like that and Pulp Fiction, those two movies I've probably seen more than, I mean, just I can't. You say 400 times that you can count that you've watched Jurassic Park. If you 500 times, 1,000 times, I have no idea how many times I've seen Pulp Fiction. I have no idea how many times I've seen Fight Club. And you can see like the level of influence of the directors that have had that profound effect on my life, to the tune of those are some of those directors that I still continue to watch every single thing that they do. And like Steven Spielberg, he's not one of those directors that I have to watch everything that he is involved in.
Okay.
Because the gamut that he has run is so tremendous. I mean, if I go through his entire filmography, for let's just say his directing credits, so he has 57 directing credits that are listed on there, and have I seen all of them? Hold on, let me go through real quick.
He has a few that I could definitely go without ever seeing again, like Lincoln. Lincoln was not a great movie.
Lincoln is long, but it's I'm also a Daniel Day-Lewis nerd.
Yeah.
So, when Bill the Butcher shows up dressed up as Abraham Lincoln, I'm in. So it's super weird. His take on Lincoln. I look, I don't know anything about the Lincoln as an actual human being. I only know him as he looks like on the change that I carry around in my pocket. But apart from that, I mean, what he was able to do is just tremendous. Am I ever going to watch it again? I mean, you could talk me into it, but it's not something that I'm going to seek out just to be able to go watch it.
I just, I don't know. Like, I remember I worked at a movie theater when it came out, and it was like every damn person that walked out of the movie theater was like, "Oh, Daniel Day-Lewis is so amazing. He sounds just like him." And I was like, "You idiot! Like, how do you know? He could have sounded like Michael Clark Duncan for all we know." like Ving Rhames. Like, there's no telling what Lincoln sounded like. Like, Daniel Day-Lewis is doing like what seems like is Lincoln's voice. But the movie is just so damn boring. It's like Warhorse. I thought Warhorse is super boring. Bridge of Spies, I thought was boring.
I'm telling you, Warhorse though, it was emotional. There are moments in there that are very emotional. So, love it or hate it. I mean, look, am I going to go back and watch Warhorse again? Probably not. My favorite take on a movie that he has done lately is whenever he directed this animated film called The Big Fucking Giant.
Dude.
I have no idea why he decided to
the
name
BFG. Like, yeah.
The BFG.
Oh, I know. Like, I just...
It's... The BFG is it's the big fucking gun.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the, that's war. And, the Big Friendly Giant. They should have just called it the Big Friendly Giant instead of the BFG.
Yeah.
Because...
Yeah, I mean, there's no need to shorten it. I mean...
No, none at all. But, like I said, there are certain directors, like, Quentin Tarantino, he could make a fucking, he could make a documentary short about, his bowel movements, and it would be, analyzed and, critiqued like it was the greatest film that's ever been made. And I'd be right there with him, man. I'd be right there with him. There's not a single thing that he could make that I would be like, nope, I'm out.
See, I'm the same way with Spielberg. Like, I will go see every movie he makes.
Yeah, as I was talking, I was scrolling through the list, and I was like, okay, which movies have I not seen yet? And then I was like, okay. So, let's see. Is there anything on the list? The Terminal. I fucking loved The Terminal.
Oh, fuck, I forgot about The Terminal. Yeah.
Minority Report. AI. So AI, it's something that I've talked about multiple times on here because I'm a fucking crazy Kubrick fanatic.
Last one.
And it was started out being a Kubrick film, and it definitely has an ending that feels like a Spielberg film. And that, like, say what you want to say about it. I feel like that had it have ended the way that Kubrick wanted to be able to end it, it probably would not have had that touchy-feely, everything is happy in the ending. Oh, by the way, it's aliens. And this is my least favorite thing about Spielberg. Like, is the by the way, it's aliens.
That's true.
It's so if I have one huge criticism of him, it's that, because it doesn't always have to be aliens. I mean, there could be different things. But for him, it's like like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Ooh.
It's a bad film, man.
That's the worst one. I think, like, that to me it's the worst Spielberg movie out of all of his movies, for sure.
Okay.
I can't think of another movie that is worse that he made.
Well, yeah, and it's not that. I mean, there are moments of Crystal Skull that are good. But there are moments of Crystal Skull that are just complete and utter fucking nonsense. Shia LaBeouf swinging through the vine. Yeah, it's that. That's what. That and the alien reveal at the end of it. Those are the two things that just. I like to pretend like Crystal Skull never existed.
It's like Godfather 3.
So yeah. Yeah, exactly. Man, fucking Last Crusade. Sure, I'm glad that was the last Indiana Jones movie that was ever made.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
That's
anything past that, I'm completely done with. So, anything else, man? Anything else you wanted to be able to cover on the Jurassic Park podcast?
No, man. I don't know. Everybody, have
we done justice to your favorite film of all time?
It would be impossible to truly do justice to it.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
I'm gonna go ahead and delete this.
No. Hey, have you ever watched this movie with someone who was watching it for the first time, like in somewhat recent years?
Like I got to kind of experience that as a father with my kids. They think of so it? Having seen it and then like being able to introduce my kids to that, I mean, they fucking love it. Yeah. I mean, yeah, man. There is, like I said, it looks like it was something that was filmed this year. It looks like something that is very current, very recent, and it doesn't feel like it has been, like, like this is like if they made this, if this was released today as a sequel to the Lost World, of Jurassic World. I'm sorry. Then it would be like, oh shit, this is the better one of all of them. So I mean, it feels like a movie that was made now. Holds up on every respect.
There is no movie to me that's ever been made that holds up as well. Ever. I cannot think of a movie that holds up that well after a movie that's at least 20 years old.
Especially with the level of digital effects. Yeah, I agree 100%. Go back and watch Lawnmower Man today, and man, I'm telling you, I grew up I watched Lawnmower Man whenever I was a kid. Fucking love that shit, man, and it is unwatchable.
Yeah,
it is unwatchable. It's so bad.
The Thing is horrible. Yes, I mean, it's a great movie.
Oh,
but it doesn't.
Yes, great movie. I love I love the special effects, but it is very much a it's a creation of its time.
Okay, so what I mean is if you were to show that to somebody who's let's say my age for the first time, they're gonna be like, "This is the dumbest shit I've ever seen." When they see the special
I don't know,
effects.
man. So Austin on our podcast, Austin is he's the guinea pig that has never seen any film, and so whenever he had never seen The Thing, and then he watched it, and he was like, "I fucking love this movie."
Yeah, really.
So,
okay. Well, maybe so then, because I just know I've seen Jurassic Park with a few people who it was their first time to see it, which is astounding to me anyways, how you can make it out of your childhood without seeing this movie. And they were blown away by it and loved it, and it made me happy to know that this isn't just a childhood thing of because I like Anaconda. It's a horrible movie, but I like it because I liked it whenever I was a kid.
It's so good.
I liked it when I was a kid. And Jurassic Park is the same thing, so knowing that it does that to people now, regardless. Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm so glad this is my favorite movie, and I will watch this movie all the time for the rest of my life and get the exact same feeling every single time.
Every single time that I watch it, it's one of those things that and look, I don't know if it's nostalgia or if it's just it's the way that it is written and the reactions and the acting and the CGI. I don't know if it's because I can't look at it from a subjective point of view. All I know is that whenever I should say look at it from a third party point of view, all I know is that whenever I watch it, it hits all the fucking right notes for me, and there's every single time whenever I hear that music, it gives me goosebumps. I know exactly what I'm in for, and I'm down for the ride every single time.
Hell yeah, man. No, well, I think I've covered damn near everything.
Awesome. Well, Cody, it's been awesome having you on the podcast. Tell us where we can find you. Tell us where we can get your podcast.
So now the full podcast is on video on YouTube. So if you just look up Mindful Mayhem on YouTube, you'll see my podcast as well as the adult film actress interviews. And it's also on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere they can be found. Mindful Mayhem. Oh yeah, man.
Cool, man. It was awesome having you. Love to be able to have you back anytime, dude.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
Adios, everybody.